Hello, welcome back. Today is Tuesday, June 18th, and we have some exciting news for Trump supporters. So first and foremost, Trump is leading in the 538 presidential forecast, with 505 of the 1,000 simulations going to him, yet only 492 going to Biden. This is very different from last week because last week Biden was leading even 52 to 48 at some point. So now we can see that Trump is the most likely candidate to win this election, and we're going to go through each and every state to analyze his odds at winning using the forecast. So without further ado, let's begin. So first we start with Joe Biden's safe states, which we can see there are a lot of them. Some of these states actually are likely going Democrat and are not solidly going Democrat, such as Washington and Oregon, which is pretty surprising to many people. So we'll first mark down those. Yet the state of California is solidly going to the Democratic Party. On the other hand, going to the Republican Party in the likely column is Alaska and Montana. Yet solidly going to Donald Trump is Idaho, Wyoming, and Utah. Now we get to our first swing state, which is the state of Nevada, where Trump leads 58 to 42. In most polls, as well as the 2022 midterms, it has been indicated a Republican victory. However, in past presidential elections, Biden and Clinton have won in the state of Nevada. Therefore, it is a little confusing as to who will win in the state of Nevada, yet 538 predicts that Trump will win in the lean column. Next, we get to the state of Arizona, where Trump leads by a similar margin, 57 to 43. On the other hand, contrary to Nevada, Arizona has been going to Democratic candidates as of late. Plus, Arizona used to go to the Republican Party, but went to Biden back in 2020. So, as we can see, Arizona, even though it has been trending towards the Democratic Party, it does go to Donald Trump. So now we have the states of Colorado, New Mexico, and Hawaii. Despite a recent poll that is promising for Trump in Hawaii, it does solidly go to President Biden. However, the states of Colorado and New Mexico do have a chance of going to President Trump. They are likely going to Biden, yet New Mexico has an almost 20% chance of going to Trump, which is contrary to Biden winning by 11 back in 2020 and Clinton winning by 8 back in 2016. So this is the first election in many elections where Republicans are seen to have a chance in the state of New Mexico. After we got through those states, Biden is up 93 to 37, but to the Trump supporters watching this video, I wouldn't panic because Biden usually wins the West Coast. Now we get to the states that more solidly go to Donald Trump, such as North Dakota and South Dakota, giving 6 electoral votes to Trump, as well as Nebraska at large. But Nebraska, as well as Maine, are weird states in that each of their congressional districts also give an electoral vote. Meanwhile, their at large only gives 2 electoral votes each. So with regard to Nebraska, Nebraska's first is likely going to Donald Trump. Nebraska's third is definitely going to Donald Trump, whereas Nebraska's second is probably going to President Biden. So now Biden picks up 1 vote, whereas Trump has picked up a solid 9 electoral votes from this category of states. And Trump is going to continue with the state of Kansas. Kansas, which went to Trump by about 15 back in 2020, does have a 96% chance of going to him in 2024. Now we get to the state of Oklahoma, which is almost definitely going to Donald Trump, one of the most safely Republican states there is. Yet the state of Texas, even though it went to Trump by a solid 5.6 back in 2020, is only likely going to Donald Trump, with an 80% chance of going to Donald Trump in 2024. Now Trump leads 100 to 94 over President Biden, but Biden still has the Midwest and the East Coast to contend with. So we'll see what happens after those are factored in. The state of Minnesota, which has the longest active streak of voting for the Democratic Party, a lean chance of going to President Biden. So this is interesting because Minnesota did go to Clinton as well as Biden, which does signify that Biden should win it, but he may not in this election, as there have been promising polls for President Trump. Meanwhile, the Republican state of Iowa does still have a 9% chance of going to Biden. And Missouri has a 3% chance of going to Biden. However, Arkansas has over a 99% chance of going to Trump. Yet Louisiana does have a 2% chance of going to Biden, but it's still solidly going to Trump. Now we get to most of the Midwest, which is going to decide this election essentially because the Midwest has a number of electoral votes and most of them are actually swing states, such as the state of Wisconsin, which does have a 54% chance of going to Biden. One deciding factor that led to Trump winning 2016 was his dominance in the Midwest, but Biden winning in 2020 is due to Biden's own dominance in the Midwest. The state of Illinois, even though it does have a 7% chance of going to Trump, it is going to Biden pretty safely. So now we get to the state of Indiana, and the state of Indiana is going to Donald Trump, almost certainly. The state of Kentucky is going to Donald Trump, as well as the state of Tennessee, even though Kentucky did elect Andy Beshear as their governor, who is a Democrat. The state of Mississippi, even though it does have a 3% chance of going to Biden, it will go to Trump. And the state of Alabama also goes to Donald Trump, this time extremely safely. The state of Michigan, out of the swing states in the Midwest, is the highest chance of going to Biden, other than Minnesota, has a 58% chance of going to Biden. So we'll put it in the tilt column, as well as Wisconsin. Michigan does offer a solid 15 electoral votes, and one key issue has been the Israel-Palestine conflict. So he's trying to tread that line and make sure not to alienate either side. And it is working out for him so far, with Michigan having a 58% chance of going to him. So next we have Ohio, which has an 80% chance of going to Donald Trump, which makes sense considering recent elections in Ohio, as well as the election of Bernie Moreno for the Republican nomination, who is a Trump-backed candidate. And now we get to Georgia, which was once safely Republican, like long ago, in a land far, far away. Even in Bush's election against Kerry, but since then it has been trending more towards these narrow margins, and it has been going more along with Florida. But now it has a 59% chance of going to Donald Trump, but that still puts it in the tilt column. Trump now leads 208 to 148. This does look pretty solid for him, but remember, the East Coast almost certainly will go to Joe Biden. But Trump still has another 30 electoral votes up his sleeve in the state of Florida, which has a 76% chance of going to him, which makes sense because Trump still won it in 2020 as well as 2016. In fact, with increasing margins both times. So now we get to the state of South Carolina, where Biden has an 8% chance of victory. The state of North Carolina with its unpopular gubernatorial candidate, but Trump is predicted to win the presidential election in the state of North Carolina. So there he goes. He wins those 16 electoral votes. And you see here, Trump just needs 7 more electoral votes. But I don't know if he'll get that because these states do almost certainly go to Biden. Almost all of them. West Virginia is an exception, but look at the rest. They will go to President Biden, and he will start making this comeback, which starts with the state of Virginia, which has a 76% chance of going to President Biden. So that does go to him. He gets to 161. West Virginia, we know, will safely go to Donald Trump. On the other hand, D.C. will safely go to President Biden. And we can see here Maryland also safely goes President Biden, even though former Governor Larry Hogan stands a chance in the Senate race. The state of Delaware does have a small chance of going to Donald Trump, but it will still go to President Biden. The state of Rhode Island safely goes to President Biden, as well as the state of Massachusetts. The state of New Jersey, which Trump recently campaigned in, does have a chance of going to Trump, but will almost certainly go to Biden. The state of Pennsylvania is pretty much Trump's last chance of getting the victory here, getting over this 267 margin. He will get one from Maine, but he needs the state of Pennsylvania in order to win this election at this point. But Biden is predicted to win 54 to 46. So Biden gets the state of Pennsylvania. So let's just round it out. I think Biden is going to win. But there is something I have to note after I complete this prediction. But anyways, Biden gets New York. Biden gets Vermont. Biden gets New Hampshire and Maine by pretty close margins. Biden gets Maine's 1st district by a solid margin, yet Maine's 2nd district is going to Donald Trump pretty solidly. And lastly, the state of Connecticut is going to President Biden. So we see Biden wins 270 to 268 according to the 538 forecast. But I do have to note, the reason Trump is predicted to win is because in the Trump states, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, he's leading with almost 60% chance. However, in these states, it's practically 50-50. Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, less so Michigan, but Pennsylvania and Wisconsin are practically 50-50. So I don't know if we could give those states to Biden just yet. So if we don't, then that makes it 241 to 268. And Trump just needs to win one of these states to win this election. On the other hand, these other states that are going to Trump are more solidly going to Trump. So this should be taken with a grain of salt, this Biden victory. I do think, according to this forecast, Trump is going to win, and so does 538. So if you like this prediction, make sure to subscribe. And if you agree or disagree with it, make sure to comment